Ayo, we noticed that only about 11% of you are actually subscribed to the channel, so go ahead and do me a favor right now and hit that subscription button. Also, it's important to note, once we hit 10,000 subscribers, we will be doing a massive giveaway here on our YouTube channel, so you'll definitely want to make sure you have notifications on for that. Don't delay, hit that subscription today. You heard?
What's going on, everybody? It's LK here with ApologyMan with another video for Beast Coast. We're going to talk about how to pick your main in Guilty Gear Strive. So for Guilty Gear, this is a pretty long-running series, and you might have some questions about, like, can I play more than one character, or like maybe I want to use one character against another character. For other games, these are characters you might want to think about and things you might want to consider, but for Guilty Gear specifically, you really should just pick the character you like the most and just stick with them. They will grow with you as you get better at the game. Your experience over time will help you even in difficult matchups, and there are plenty of examples of people who played characters that have varied greatly in their strength over the years, but they're still successful because of their experience and that they just legitimately like the characters. So before we even talk about any characters and what they do, this is really the most important thing that I'm really trying to drive really heavily, that you don't want to switch characters around willy-nilly. Pick the character that you like and just stick with them in this game.
Yeah, a wise man once told me that I hate every character in Guilty Gear except for my own, and I think it is so true that the more you get into this game, and just how attached you get to your own character just because of how unique their design and archetype is. Like, you really need to put a lot of love into your character to really get good at them. So when you want to invest into a character in this game, make sure you like them. Like, it's, you know, some people will be like, oh, you know, this is the rushdown, this is the zoner, but at the end of the day, just if he looks cool, he feels fun, just play him, because that's what's gonna keep you motivated and improving in Guilty Gear.
So that being said, though, we do want to give a little short summary about each character. So we're gonna start with Soul, because he's the main protagonist. He's the bad guy. You might be hearing a lot about him. He's a great beginner character. He's like kind of like a mid-range bruiser, the poke throw type of character with a relatively simple game plan of you enforce your pressure and you throw them or use the command throw that does a lot of damage.
Yeah, he's pretty straightforward. One of the really easy to use tools is his far slash. It's plus and it goes very far. If you want to just pick a character from the get-go that has strong normals, like good throw game and a pretty strong projectile, like, yeah, he's the way to go. I basically, if you can't think of a character like to play just to at least get a feel of what Guilty Gear feels like, you should just play Soul and kind of get your feet wet in the game before maybe trying other characters if you don't like them.
Mm-hmm. So we have Nagoryuki here. Some people call him Yuki. Some people call him something else. He has a pretty unique mechanic where, so he's a vampire, so he manages his you have to manage his blood gauge. There's a little blood gauge at the bottom. You can cancel special moves in the special moves. He does a lot of damage too, but the trade-off is he's not very mobile compared to other characters. But he has like kind of huge normals as well. So if you like power type characters and you like characters with really big range, he's for you. But his defense is kind of a struggle, but he can kill characters in like 1 or 2 hits legit. So it's like a interesting dynamic that he has.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think he's the easiest character to use. You have to really manage his blood gauge. You can't, the way you use his specials and move around the screen with them is heavily around the blood gauge and not going into blood rage and getting yourself killed. So he takes a little bit of time. He doesn't have the regular movement like every other character does, like an air dash. He has just a single jump and and like a little like super jump, like kind of farther hop. He's not the most beginner friendly, but he is pretty fun and pretty interesting. It's a new character to the series.
We got my girl Millia. Don't pick her, she sucks. I mean, jokes aside though, like, she's really good character in my opinion, but she's pretty hard to play. She's very, very fast, and she has a lot of movement options that other characters don't have. You have things like the slide. It's a special move that has upper body invincibility, so if any attacks above her waist, they just won't hit her. She has the rose hop that flings her one way, and she can do like air attacks if she wants. She can go from the air to the ground really quickly. She's got 2 air dashes, and if she knocks you down, she gets to do mix-ups with her disc move. She throws a disc and jumps into the air. You can do high-low, do left-right. Now, despite all these good things, the downside is she has the second lowest life, and one of the assuming it works like old GG, I don't think anyone confirmed that the guard gauges are different, but if the guard gauges are different, hers is always really bad, so she can't block very much. Her meter gain is not good, so like a lot of like the system mechanic stuff, they her weak versions of it, so you have to be really careful and you can't make mistakes. Someone told me that the damage in Guilty Gear Strive is quite high, so if you get hit, you're really, really, really going to feel it. So you have to be careful if you play her. She takes a lot of practice, but you can put the work in. She's a really, really strong character.
Yeah, I mean, okay, said it best. That's his main character, right? Millia is very, very high speed, tons of movement options, very strong offense in this game, but it is outweighed by the fact that she has very, very low health. So you have to play very carefully with her to really get the most out of her. But you know, when she gets going, oh man, it's really scary to fight her. But yeah, a single mistake can just get you killed with her. So it definitely takes some time investment to get results with her.
But then there's Chip, ninja character, another high speed type. So the difference between him and Millia is that when Millia knocks you down, it's over. So that's like when she's her outright strongest. The rest of the time, you're kind of like threading the needle, right? With Chip, the general concept is that he's really fast and his moves are really good. So he's good all the time until he gets hit. That's the basic concept of him. All the for lack of a better word, the TODs you see people post, they're always done on him because he has the lowest life. I think his meter gain is also not good, and his risk is also not good. But you will feel incredibly powerful right away when you pick him, as opposed to Millia, where you're like, well, this character can't do anything, and he learns some stuff, you're like, oh man, like she's actually crazy, type of thing. If you like ninja characters, you probably already know that you like him. He's got a couple unique movement options as well, like he has 3 jumps. He can run up the wall. Some people think that's cool. He's got a shuriken. Some people think that's cool. And he has one thing that's actually very important in this game. He has a very fast DP. Very, very fast DP. It's really important for defense. So he can protect himself in ways that other characters can't. Because not all characters have DPs, and some characters have DPs, but they're slow. So the fact that he has one that's fast is a really, really good thing for him. But if you get hit, you're going to get touch of death. So be careful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's very, very high movement. He's the only character in the game that has the 3 jumps, and similar to Millia in some ways, with just like how fast and like how many movement options he has. He gets hit once, like oh man, like he dies real fast. You gotta know when to burst with this character. If you don't burst properly with them, you could just lose all your life instantaneously. It could be like a 3-4 hit combo, like some sort of like anti-air counter combo, and you could be dead before you even know it. So definitely takes some time to get good with him. But he's you can definitely really overwhelm your opponent with just like how many options he has moving around.
Next we have Kai. So according to this game, Kai is the absolute easiest character to play in the game. Whether or not I agree with that, I don't know. But he is also the most normal character out of everybody, which is probably why they gave him this. So Soul's supposed to be your other protagonist, but Soul's kind of like your mid-range bruiser type. Like in my head, he's like a Ken type, where Kai is like a Ryu type. So you're going to be focusing a lot on controlling space. He's quite fast, and his pressure is really good too. His conditioning game is quite good. He hits you. He does do a surprising amount of damage in the corner, considering he is nowhere near as yoked as Lord Soul. So another good thing about him also is that his defense is surprisingly strong. So it's not just that he has the DP reversals, but he also has the 5-frame low in stun dip perf. So it's a really fast low that travels really far. And he just overall is really good at like making sure other characters can't like set up in neutral because he's always available. Like he can go somewhere and has an option at all times.
Yeah, for sure. Kai definitely like the Ryu like type character. Like he has just threat and a lot of spots on the screen. His normals are great. He has the Sun Edge, which is like one of like the best fireballs in this game, and he has the air stun edge at 2 angles. So he really covers like a lot of spots on the screen with just like how big his normals are, where stun edge goes. And in this game, compared to previous Guilty Gears, when you block electric moves with him, including stun edge, which is the really good fireball I said before, it changes the properties of some of his special moves, so they go up in frame advantage. Most notably, his flip kick. It's not Greed Sever. It's called something else now. But it makes Kai plus, and that's like a huge part of his game plan is putting you in the shock state, getting better combos and like better frame advantage on that kick move. But yeah, he's pretty easy to use. I definitely the easiest character in my opinion to jump into the game with, along with Soul.
So we have Mei next. You've probably seen a lot of memes about her and her theme song. Compared to previous Guilty Gears, especially Exer, they've simplified her, and in my opinion, she's kind of the character that they've kind of pigeonholed the most compared to other characters, but that's another talk. In this game, she's pretty simple. She has an anchor and you swing it. That's the plan. She has a lot of damage, and in the corner specifically, her strike throw game is really strong because she can combo off her command grab without meter, which I don't think any other character in the game really has right now. So her threat in the corner is really high. She has some tricky offensive sequences. The Dolphins, of course, are really strong if the opponent doesn't know how to deal with them. So she's like, I wouldn't say like a mid-range type, really. She's able to just move in and out of range with Dolphin, just swinging that anchor and just trying to get hits into combos.
Yeah, this character jumps at you a lot. She has very good jump normals, good ground normals as well. But her main approaches are definitely her jump heavy slash, and she has another unique like anti-air option, which is I think it's like jump 2H or jump.
Yeah, sort of. In this version, it doesn't. I mean, I gotta check Exit actually, but it doesn't change her air momentum. No, that's wrong.
As much.
If she's moving forward, it will stop her air momentum. That's what I mean to say.
Gotcha. Yeah. But if you're gonna play this character, you're gonna be approaching through the air a lot, as well as the ground with her dolphin move, the Totsugeki. It's the move that everyone memes a lot. It's her charge move, and it's a huge part of her game plan, and it's great in the mid-range. If you have the charge for it, it goes very fast. And she has 2 versions of it, one that's like the quicker one and the slightly slower one, which is plus on block. And you can really oppress your opponent with those approaches.
Next we have Zato. So actually this is another character I don't really recommend for people who have not played this series unless you really like him. If I had to describe him in one sentence, is edgy ice climber. So you have to manually control his shadow and you attack at the same time. But again, everything you do with the shadow, you control it. It's not like it just does stuff after you. He has really good control of neutral, and his pressure sequences are usually pretty good. He has like a lot of like tricky high-low situations. He has a command grab as well. They've revamped all his shadow moves, so like they're not like previous versions of Guilty Gear, kind of like make him fit in the game. The really big downside of him is, again, his defense is not that good. So anytime you hear like a character has like all this crazy stuff, the biggest thing is that once he starts blocking or gets knocked down, it's like, oh, it's tough. It's hard times. But he's really able to shut down a lot of characters in neutral once you get the hang of controlling him and the puppet at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. He is definitely a more technical character. Probably the most technical character in the game at the moment. He has his unique air movement as well. He goes into like the flight mode. He doesn't have like the traditional his air dash isn't as traditional. He can kind of directionally influence his flight, and that's like a big part of his neutral when it comes to like managing Eddie or just moving around in general. And yeah, he's definitely a very strong character in neutral once you kind of get used to controlling the puppet with his like the frog move. I think it's Noburu, right?
Yeah, it's a nobody replacement. Yeah.
Yeah. And he has this other move, oppose, where Eddie kind of comes out of the floor and then he just posts up there and it absorbs a bunch of attacks. And both those moves are very, very strong in neutral, and you can really win the neutral game and kind of get his Zato Eddie Shadow game going. And he's good. He's good, but he takes a lot of time.
Okay, cool. So next we have Ino. She's a pretty unique character. So she's another mix-up type character. If you like mix-ups, she's one of your other main options. So she has a really unique movement compared to other characters because she doesn't have a run. Instead, she has a linear moving hover dash, which is what enables her mix-ups. Her mix-ups are incredibly strong when she knocks you down, and her setups are relatively safe. They also gave her a bunch of moves to help her navigate because they realized that this hover dash is quite linear. People are going to hit her for free, so she has ways to like low profile things from far. She has ways of like anti-airing from really far. She has all sorts of dives and ways of flinging herself around the screen as well. So you can vary your movement quite a bit. You knock them down in the corner, you put the note on them, and you just mix them up to death.
Yeah, for sure. Her movement is definitely very, very unique. She doesn't have the traditional ground dash like all the other characters have. She has like the forward upwards air dash, which is like big part of her mix-ups. When you're full screen with her, because you can't just like run at them like you would with other characters, you have to really choose your approaches differently, whether it's maybe air dashing a short distance, or maybe like using her stroke the big tree move, which is a big part of her ground game, as well as using her fireball and approaching with it as well.
Okay, so next is Anji. So he's a returning character from Guilty Gear XX, it's a little harder to describe his game plan, but for the most part, he has some moves that have armor on it, and in this version, you can't really like hit the armor straight up, from at least my testing. So you navigate neutral by either like using the armor to go through their moves or just like run at them. He actually has a pretty decent knockdown game. He has a special move that's a butterfly that travels at you that hits twice, so you can set up options with that. He's got a Rekka, and his move is called Fusion, which I believe also has armor and has various follow-ups you can cycle. His damage output seems pretty good, and he controls a lot of space. As you can see, those fans are really big. So if he feels like picking a move and not picking like an armor move, he really just swipes a big part of the screen with it. So if you play him, you have big buttons, he's pretty fast, and he has armor moves you can use.
Yeah, for sure. So the main armor move that the Lord Knight's talking about is his Fusion move. It's this like giant green like special fan swipe forward, and a big part of his gameplay is the options after that. Is he has like 3 follow-ups or 3 or 4 follow-ups that he can do, and he can go into a low, he can go into an overhead, he can shoot like a fan to make himself plus, he can do a flip forward. And so he has these very large buttons. He has the Fujin move, and he has like these special follow-ups after the Fujin, and that's definitely big part of his pressure game and neutral game. If you like if you like that type of play style, like he's definitely for you.
Leo's next. So this is another beginner character. I recommend him really highly, despite the game just not saying that, which is kind of interesting. So he has a relatively straightforward game plan. Of his goal is to knock you down when his back is turned to you, so he can face you and attack you normally, or be back turned. When he's back turned, really good mix-ups. An extremely fast overhead that's plus. He has a low that's also pretty fast. He can stagger buttons with both a move that you can't throw that's also quite big in his back turn slash, and he has a straight up parry move, 2 parry moves I think actually, to like stop you from pressing buttons. And then if you are too scared and you just sit there, he also has a command grab. So he has a lot of ways he can attack you with his back turn. He can also run through you while he's back turn with both a special move and his actual dash goes through you. But once he's back turn, it's seriously party time for him, and he does a lot of damage. His main downsides this time is that like he's not like fast really. Like once he knocks you down, he can kind of overwhelm you, but like his typical game speed is not that fast. He does have when he's facing you, he's got like parries that he can do from neutral, but unlike Anji, where like there's no real counter to them besides just waiting or like using a super. You can hit his with lows, so you kind of have to be careful on when you do it. But besides that, he gets in, you turn around, you press buttons, you hit them with the overhead, do a lot of damage, and you win the game. His rush down when he's back turn is extremely strong, and it's really what you're aiming for to win games.
Yeah, for sure. The back turn stance is the name of the game with him once he gets near you and starts to get going. Outside the back turn stance, though, he does have some pretty solid normals, and he has a very strong fireball, in my opinion. It goes through a lot of other fireballs, actually. It's like a really like high priority fireball, and he has a slow fireball that he can shoot. Takes a little bit more time to come out, and he can kind of follow behind it to approach as well. But yeah, you kind of want to close the distance with his like kind of like pretty solid mid-range and like fireball game and like good normals, and then get near them, go into back turn stance, and just party time and run your offense.
So next there's Faust. Usually a pretty easy character that I would normally recommend for beginners, but this time I'm not quite so sure because of changes they've made. So he has an archetype that's typically very strong in Arceus games, where he throws items and then the items act independently of him, and he works with the item in order to like control space, do mix-up, stuff like that. He still does this, but they gave him a new set of items so that like, you know, he's not too overbearing. If you played like past Guilty Gears, you would know like some of his items are kind of ridiculous, or like there's buff versions of items, a bunch of nonsense. So they kind of like got rid of some of those and they replaced them with some new stuff. The real emphasis is you have to work together with the items. So him on his own, he's pretty okay. Like he controls space, he's got good anti-air, he's got good air. He's not like the most mobile character, but as you can see, he's very tall. So he has really long normals, he's got that giant scalpel. But when you have the items on screen, depending on what item you get, you'll either have like a really heavy advantageous situation, a situation that's kind of even where the opponent can interact with it too, or even a disadvantage situation because there's I think at least one item that if the opponent gets it, then he can't do anything. He has to run away from his own item.
So yeah, Faust, another really bad character, just like Millia. Please buff him, Arceus. I would really appreciate that. No, I think Faust is quite strong. He's the character that I play. He is a pretty unique character in the sense his air movement, you know, as LK mentioned, is not standard. He doesn't have the traditional air dash. He instead has this really weird slow dash that you don't use that much, but you know, you use it sometimes. But the big thing with his game plan is just ad-libbing and seeing what random item that you throw and trying to make the best situation of it. It can get very chaotic with Faust in this game. There is no limit to how many items you can throw with him. So a big part of his game plan is throwing multiple items and just being more in control in the situation of the items that you're throwing than your opponent. He can create some pretty crazy and chaotic matches with his strong mid-range buttons in his far slash and heavy slash. And two heavy slash and just his item throws. So Faust is very fun, but you know he's definitely one of the more different characters. He does not play like any of the other Guilty Gear characters at all in this game, but he's fun. You gotta really adapt to the items you're throwing though. There's a lot of on the fly choices you need to make.
So next is Axel. This is another kind of a neutral control character type of choice. So he's like a zoner. Like if you want to be lazy, you can call him a zoner, but he kind of plays like both long range and mid range. He has really far pokes. His damage output is actually quite high when he gets big buttons, and he's basically trying to just either keep opponents out, or for people who are also good at running away, he lets them not set up. So he has pretty good functions in that. His main weakness is that a lot of his chain moves have really big dead zones. So like a more mobile character like Chip or Millia can like thread the needle, get in, and then knock him down. And in this version, he has no meterless reversal to my knowledge. So it's kind of sad times if that happens.
Yeah, this is definitely the zoner character, like the most zoner character IMO. With his full screen chains, he can really stop characters like Faust from setting up, and it's definitely a space control, like kind of keep them away and kind of control the pace of the match character. He has a command grab, full screen as well. So if you kind of condition your opponent with your full screen chains and stuff, over time you can kind of just catch them sleeping and throw the full screen command grab out and run a little bit of offense as well. But yeah, he's definitely the long range character when it comes to the Strive Guilty Gear cast.
Okay, so next is Potemkin. You've probably seen a lot of memes about him as well because of how much damage Potemkin Buster does. Your goal is to use Potemkin Buster. That's I. Do you want something else? Your goal is to hit them with Potemkin Buster. The move has his name in the move. That's how you know that he wants to use it. Does a lot of damage. There you go. That's Potemkin. Look at him.
No, yeah, he is a grappler. He is a moving fortress.
I'm not capping. Yeah.
No, yeah. So he has very high health. Traditionally, grapplers in most fighting games, they have the high health, low movement options. They kind of bulldog their way in. They have to take small steps to slowly approach your opponent. But once they get in, they grab you and then they kill you, and then you get sad. It's great if you like that. I don't like it.
So he has actually some pretty interesting stuff in this version, jokes aside. So, of course, he does Hammerfall. This move was kind of memed in Obi-Wan because it was incredibly difficult to punish, but now it's a kind of a free punish. His slide head also has armor, so you could use armor. You can use it both as like an anti-zoning tool and also like kind of as a gamble where like if you're not sure what they're gonna do you think they might come in, the move has armor frames. He's got an anti-jump move as well that forces him down to the ground. He can make his own plus frames, albeit with a slow move, but he has a move that is extremely advantageous. He also can hit projectiles with one of his special moves, and if he does that, a huge, like emphasis on huge, slow traveling projectile will appear on the screen that he can walk behind. He can gain all that meter and like approach and start running his game. So despite him not being mobile, he does have a lot of tools to fight runaway and really mobile characters, and the system mechanics benefit him too. Like he gains meter really quickly. It's really hard to build his risk gauge as well. Okay, Ramlethal, as some people say, Ramlethal. So this is another character you probably have been hearing a lot about. So her game plan is quite simple in this game. Your goal essentially is to get them in the corner and hit them with Far Slash. And she has some buttons in neutral that help you do that. Her corner carry is pretty good. Once she corners an opponent, she's very, very strong. And when she breaks the wall, she becomes incredibly powerful. So not only does she does a lot of damage in the corner, but once she returns to neutral, she can choose to shoot the sword. So like those swords aren't just there for show. She could use them on her own as normals, or she can fire them as a projectile. Once she gets the buff, she's able to fire them as a projectile and get back in extremely quickly. She has like kind of tricky mix-ups as well. And I would say she's not too difficult of a character to learn because she just, you're controlling space with large moves. So I think that's pretty intuitive. So if you're into that, then this is definitely the character for you.
Yeah, for sure. She's pretty easy to use, in my opinion. She has the very, very large jumping slash and her far slash on the ground. So her neutral is pretty straightforward, I think. You just kind of use her big normals, get your opponent to the corner, and shoot the swords. And when they get to the corner, the swords can explode, and they give Ram plus frames to do more offense with them. So it's definitely a big part of her game plan. It's using her strong normals, getting the opponent to the corner, and just oppressing them with the sword explosions. If they get hit at any point, you're gonna do a ton of damage, break the wall, and you'll be in a really good situation with all the meter you get in the next after the wall break. And yeah, she's really good. She's pretty straightforward. Her game plan is very, very straightforward. Really easy to jump in with her.
So the last character we're gonna look at is Giovanna, who is also a newcomer to Guilty Gear. She got kind of memed because she only has 4 special moves, so people are like she's really basic, but she's actually a very carefully made character that I find quite interesting, and might be a character I learned how to play for fun. So she has a bunch of unique movement options compared to other characters. She has an extremely long sliding dash that carries momentum. She has a lot of moves on offense that are plus on block. So she has like a Kami spiral arrow type of move that's plus. She has a flip kick that's plus. Her close slash is also plus. So you could use those to help enforce your offense. Her damage output is really high. Her ability to knock down off things into like a hard knockdown is really, really high as well compared to other characters. So you're mixing like staying outside of certain characters' ranges and then sliding your way on in and using her air movement, because her air dash and dash jump are pretty good, to kind of soar over people who are trying to stop you from sliding in and then start your offense that way.
Yeah, this character is plus a lot, very plus. She can really oppress you when she gets close to you, and you know, like LK said, closing the gap with her through her air dash, which is very fast, very low, and her ground dash, which is amazing, goes very far. She doesn't. There's no like projectiles with her. It's much more about like the movement and her normals. But once you do get in with her, I think has some of I think easily the best plus frames in this game by far, and offense, strike throw offense. So yeah, she's pretty easy to use as well, as you can see. Her ease to use is but yeah, she's really fun and a new character to the series to really easily jump into the game with. So hope you guys like that general breakdown of all the Guilty Gear Strive characters. Hopefully you can use this to pick out a character of your own. Like and subscribe to the channel if you feel like it, and we'll see you next time. Bye.